Before he was an Oscar nominee, Mark Wahlberg embodied Hollywood redemption. The swaggering star of The Departed and Ted built his image on discipline and faith.
Tammy Lynn and I are gonna have a baby.
Holy you?
Yeah, we talked about it today.
Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
wait,
you.
Wait.
Thanks.
How do you guys...
But his beginnings were anything but clean. Growing up in Boston's Dorchester neighborhood, in 1986, Wahlberg's teen years spiraled into violence and drugs. At 15, he and friends pelted a group of black schoolchildren with rocks while yelling racial slurs. Then in 1988, he assaulted 2 Vietnamese men in separate, racially charged attacks, blinding one in the process. Charged with attempted murder, he pled guilty to felony assault and spent 45 days in prison. In later years, he sought a pardon, but public backlash forced him to drop it. One victim forgave him, the other never heard from him. Wahlberg talks about righting those wrongs in an interview.
I've been working for 27 years to right the wrongs that I've done and the mistakes that I've made as a child. And, you know, those are things that affected me deeply.
Yet critics still revisit them whenever he speaks about morality or faith proof that some origins never fade, no matter how bright the spotlight. Before becoming Hollywood's iron-willed hero and California's governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger's real origin story was far darker. Born in 1947 in post-war Austria under his Nazi-affiliated violent father Gustav, young Arnold grew up in fear, enduring brutal beatings.
Because my mother called me on the phone and she said, you know, your dad died. And this was exactly 2 months before a contest. She says, do you come home to the funeral? I said, no. It's too late, you know, he's dead, there's nothing to be done.
His hunger for escape drove him to bodybuilding glory, but not without scandal. At 18, he went AWOL from the Austrian army for a competition and spent time in military jail. During his rise, in 1977, he openly admitted to steroid use and was filmed smoking marijuana and pumping iron.
Did you really smoke a joint? And did he, in fact, inhale?
Makes sense with the rest.
Early interviews revealed a cocky, crude persona, boasting about group sex, using homophobic slurs, and making jokes about the SS. In 1975, he praised Hitler's oratory skills, and in 1986, toasted Nazi-linked Kurt Waldheim at his wedding. Years later, he reportedly paid $2 million to bury the footage. Though he's since condemned extremism and rebranded as a voice of tolerance, his past still shadows the myth of the modern American dream. Long before he became America's favorite dad on Home Improvement or the iconic voice of Buzz Lightyear, Tim Allen's real-life story was closer to a crime drama than a family sitcom.
And then on the way over here, my car stalled.
I'll take a look at it. Al should look at it. He should look at it.
Eileen, I would love to look under your hood.
In 1978, at just 25, Allen was arrested at a Michigan airport with over 650 grams of cocaine, facing a possible life sentence under state trafficking laws. To avoid it, he struck a deal, providing information on other dealers to reduce his time, and ultimately served 2 years and 4 months in federal prison. Allen described the experience at a podcast.
Because I was in there going, I'm going to kill myself. I can't deal with this because I'm in 11 people in a cell. So I was going to kill myself. Comedy part of me goes, okay, how are we going to do this?
The events forced him to rebuild his life from scratch as his felony record haunted him, limiting travel, jobs, and even gun rights. But thankfully, he found his second act through stand-up comedy. Audiences who later adored his wholesome TV persona were stunned to learn of his past. His mugshot remains infamous, but Allen himself calls the arrest the moment that saved my life. Before Danny Trejo became one of Hollywood's most recognizable tough guys, his life was the real version of every prison film he's ever starred. Raised amid gangs and drugs in 1950s Los Angeles, Trejo was addicted to heroin just by age 12 and started committing armed robberies soon after, and by his 20s, he'd cycled through San Quentin, Soledad, and Folsom, where violence was a daily ritual. In 1968, he was involved in a riot that nearly turned deadly and was facing possible execution.
And I remember thinking, this is what my life has come to.
Yeah.
Solitary confinement broke him, but gave him a new life because Trejo turned to boxing behind bars and started acting in prison plays. After his release in 1969, he stayed clean and worked as a drug counselor, eventually landing a movie role while helping another addict on set of Runway Train. Today, Danny Trejo runs restaurants, counsels inmates, and reminds others, everything good in my life came from helping someone else. Before he became the cool, commanding face of Hollywood, Samuel L. Jackson's real life was closer to a revolution than a movie script.
Normally, both your asses would be dead as fried chicken. But you happen to pull this shit while I'm in a transitional period, and I don't want to kill you. I want to help you.
Growing up in the 1950s segregated Tennessee, he faced racism that shaped his worldview early on. At Morehouse College in 1969, Jackson joined student activists who held the Board of Trustees hostage, which included Martin Luther King Sr., for 2 days to demand curriculum reform. The act got him arrested, expelled, and placed under FBI surveillance. Then, rebellion soon turned to addiction, as heroin and coke nearly killed him, but he soon realized he had to stop.
So once I got clean, everything kind of changed. So there's a very distinct correlation of me changing my life and being focused and clear about what I needed to do and my success.
In 1991, fresh out of rehab, he filmed Jungle Fever. His character ironically imitated his personal life by playing a crack addict, but that role gave him a second chance at life. Jackson often says sobriety gave him everything fame couldn't. The fury that once drove him to fight the system now drives his iconic performances. Before he became Marvel's ironclad hero, Robert Downey Jr. lived through one of Hollywood's darkest childhoods.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, son.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Mr. Stark, please.
Yes, dear.
Could I have your attention?
Absolutely.
Raised in the 1970s by Robert Downey Sr., he grew up in a world where drugs weren't just accepted, they were shared. By age 6, his father gave him marijuana. By 8, he was using regularly. Downey later said, "When my dad and I used drugs together, it was like him trying to express love." That twisted bond spiraled into addiction that consumed decades. In 1996, he was arrested with heroin, cocaine, and a loaded gun, and weeks later, broke into a neighbor's home, falling asleep in their child's bed. Multiple arrests, prison time, and even being fired from Ally McBeal followed. But Downey eventually realized that true change had to start from within.
Past a certain point, you have to stand up inside yourself and change. You know, everybody does with any issue. Ultimately, anything else is just a really new age excuse, if you ask me.
When Hollywood gave up on him, he chose to fight back, and his rise from inmate to Iron Man remains one of the most powerful redemption stories. Before his rugged voice and weathered charm made him one of Hollywood's most respected actors, Nick Nolte's real-life story sounded more like a crime drama than a movie script.
You godless son of a bitch! You stopped the ship! You godless son of a bitch!
In 1961, at just 20 years old, he was arrested for selling counterfeit draft cards to help young men dodge the Vietnam War. The charge carried a possible 45-year sentence and a $75,000 fine, but the punishment was suspended, making him a convicted felon for life. Nolte talks about how hard it was, as it kept him from being sent to Vietnam. Still, the conviction haunted him for years, closing doors and limiting his options. He scraped by on small theater gigs before finally breaking through in Rich Man, Poor Man, 1976. Fame came late, but demons followed, particularly alcoholism, which led to his infamous 2002 mugshot in a Hawaiian shirt.
In my worst moments of addiction, I'm not happy. And I battle it, have battled it all my life. So
today, Nolte reflects on his turbulent past as proof that sometimes surviving yourself is the hardest role of all. Before he became one of Hollywood's highest paid actor, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's life looked more like a cautionary tale than a success story. Growing up in poverty during the 1980s, his family was evicted from their apartment in Honolulu more than once. By age 13, Johnson was part of a theft ring targeting wealthy tourists, arrested nearly 9 times before turning 17 in 1989 for crimes ranging from check fraud and shoplifting to fighting.
Stop at this 7-Eleven, I swear to God, every day, and I used to steal a king-size Snickers bar.
Every day?
For energy. Well, I didn't have any money.
At 6 feet 4 inches and 225 pounds, he was intimidating and angry, but his mother's tears after one arrest became his breaking point. That moment changed everything as he poured his rage into sports, earning a football scholarship at the University of Miami, before injuries ended his NFL dreams. But he didn't stop, and reinvention followed, first as The Rock in wrestling, then as a blockbuster movie star. From street arrests to superstardom, Johnson's story proves that discipline can rewrite even the darkest beginnings. Time's up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video from my fun, lighthearted channel, Hollywood Body Count, I'd love a cheeky like, subscribe, and comment. No pressure, no sweat. Your call.